There are two pillars to finally breaking your bad habits, and this applies whether you're a beginner or someone more advanced who's just lost their way. And these two pillars are intrinsic motivation and your habits. I've said this countless times that all self-improvement is finding something that works for you and running with it. In self-improvement, we tend to overcomplicate things, but in reality, it is simple. You just need to find what works for you and you run with it. You keep beating at it. Okay, so intrinsic motivation, right? You've heard this countless times. There's extrinsic motivation and there's intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is your outside motivators, your friend who motivates you. You see that girl walking down the street and you're motivated again. Intrinsic motivation is more of your why. You have it all the time. It's a long term. It can be something as simple as someone who was building a business and they had their mom was poor, but they grew up with a single mom and they were poor all the time, and that just pushed them to never want to see that again. That's intrinsic motivation, right? And I'm going to tell you, as someone, you might be thinking to yourself, I've had intrinsic motivation, I found my why, but then I lost my way. How do I get it back? And I'm going to tell you, as someone who's had that intrinsic motivation, I managed to go the whole of last year. I got consistent, and then I fell off again. And I'm going to tell you how I managed to get that again. But before I tell you that, I want you guys to subscribe below to join the brotherhood. I make videos like this every week, and they'll be very helpful to you. Okay, so my story is I've always been in self-improvement. I got into self-improvement about 5 years ago, right? But I was always like that guy who was inconsistent, on, off, that sort of thing. So I barely made any progress, right? But what happened was at the start of last year, right? At the start of last year, I was in second year university, right? 2 years ago, I graduated at school. I spoke to someone that I hadn't it was a year earlier, sorry. I spoke to someone that I hadn't spoken to since graduation, right? So it had been a year, and it just pointed out something to me, right? Because it's been a year since I've spoken to this person, and my life is still the same. And the thing is, it starts to hit different when long time passes and you start to realize that your life is just staying the same. And for me, it was at the end of my final year in school. I was going to university. You have this whole new bubbly person. You have this whole new vision for yourself. You know what you're gonna do. You're gonna change your life and everything. And when I spoke to him a year later, I realized damn, the last time I spoke to this person, I had all these plans and I did nothing, right? And that just lit a fire under me, because I looked at that and I was like, I don't want to be that guy 10 years from now at 30 or 29, 30, and I'm coming back at some high school reunion, people have got kids and everything, and my life is still the same as it was back then, because I know that it's gonna hurt, right? So I was pushed by not wanting that to happen to me, okay? And that managed to push me through last year. I was more consistent than I've ever been, right? And you need to find something like that for yourself. I know it's difficult to find your why, but you really need to sit down and just think about what your life could look like when it's bad. You can try and motivate yourself with positive motivation, so how good your life could be. But I found something that is more motivating is fear. Fear is a wonderful motivator. Okay, you could be the laziest person in the world. You're slow. You haven't run in forever. If you're walking down the street and you see a dog that's about to attack you, your heart rate starts pumping and you start running. You're fighting for it, right? That's the same thing that applies. You just need to find something that works for you. Okay, you need to find that intrinsic motivator, because that's how people get to the top, right? Yeah, there's discipline and everything, and that is the most important thing. But before discipline comes motivation, and you need that intrinsic motivation, that long burning motivation. It doesn't just burn out after a week or so. You need something that's gonna push you, right? And find something. Tap into that fear. Trust me, if you can't find anything else, tap into that fear. Okay, then pillar number 2 is your habits. You hear this all the time. Intrinsic motivation is going to get you started, and then your habits is going to build that framework that's just going to keep you consistent, right? You're just going to keep chipping away at it. All your habits are they're just a guide, okay? As long as you want to set out something that's going to be as long as I follow this every single day or most days, I will be successful in however long the time passes, okay? And that's what your habits are going to be set up to do. You want to set up your environment, you want to set up your goals, and then you want to set up your environment to make sure that it makes it as easy as possible for you to complete these habits. Okay, this is how you don't fall back into your habits. The biggest problem with habits is that, with changing from bad habits to good habits, is that people cut out the bad habits and then they don't replace it with anything. It's just I'm cutting out porn and then I'm spending the whole day thinking about it. You're playing a losing game. Okay, you are playing a losing game. So what you want to do is you want to find something different to focus on, right? You want to find your goals, and then you want to set out You just want to set out the framework for achieving those goals, right? And when you're setting up your environment, remove everything. Stop waking up in the morning and scrolling on your phone, and having all these apps everywhere. Like, delete them. Okay, just you don't need TikTok. You don't need Instagram. Even, okay, YouTube is useful. YouTube is very useful, but I wouldn't even like say, like, you don't need to be scrolling on YouTube Shorts all the time. Okay, and you just want to set yourself up, your environment, to be conducive for productivity. You know what I'm talking about. You know the things when you're studying. Just stop having your phone there with your notifications on and all of this. Like, you don't need to have all of that. Turn your phone off. Turn off your notifications and put your phone across the room. Simple as that. Like, that sort of thing. Now, you've heard these kind of things before, and you've tried to apply them. Installing porn blockers, everything like that sort of thing, deleting your apps and everything, and it just hasn't worked. But that's because you've skipped step one. And step one is your intrinsic motivation. Your intrinsic motivation is your most important thing. You need to have a reason to keep moving, right? You need to have a reason that's going to keep you moving. And all your habits are an aid. Don't use your habits as a crutch, okay? Because when you use them as a crutch, you're going to struggle to keep going, right? So you need to have that intrinsic motivation, your reason for why you're doing everything. And then you use your habits to set up a framework, okay? And before you go, I want you to make sure you write out a list of non-negotiables. Okay, your non-negotiables. So for me, my non-negotiables are: I wake up at a specific time. Okay, I don't touch my phone. Okay, other than to turn off the alarm, but I don't open up chats, Instagram, any of that. It's straight to the bathroom. Use the bathroom, jump on the scale, put on my workout clothes, and go to the garage. I work out. After that, I go to bath. After bathing, I come to my room, and then it's 4 hours of deep work. Okay, I have a 30 minutes break in between, but you get the gist of it, right? So until 11 o'clock, I aim to wake up at about 4. Until 11 o'clock, until I finish those 4 hours of deep work, I'm not allowed to consume any kind of content. I'm not allowed to watch YouTube. I'm not allowed to even listen to podcasts, read a book, anything like that. It's focused work, because those are the most precious hours of your day, and you want to make sure you use those as well as you can. Okay, non-negotiables. You want to set up those. Okay, what you don't eat. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat extra sugar. I don't eat junk food. I don't put sugar in anything. I don't put sugar in cornflakes or tea or any of that. Sugar's out. Okay, I don't need it. Okay, and once you set out a flat rule, it becomes easier to follow, and that's all your habits are. They're a guide. Okay, so that's the video, guys. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button below to join the brotherhood, and until next time, I'll see you boys.